How you doing, everyone? Happy Wednesday, and welcome to the Isaac Hayes Show, where I talk about life, I talk about liberty, and yes, I talk about the pursuit of happiness. And I show everyone in the world that us Cajuns do have some intelligence. Hope everyone is having a great Wednesday. If you watch that speech like that and you are on the left, you are not having a good day. I can promise you right now, you're not having a good day. If you're on the right, yeah, you're having a great morning. You're drinking your coffee, and you know that our country is heading in the right direction. Of course, everybody that's listening on the left right now is probably telling me, Isaac, how dare you? That speech was horrible. We're gonna get into it. We're gonna get into it. But first, I want to go ahead and tell you about a few things. And I want to tell you about PrimetimeMediaLA.com. You can go ahead and check out PrimetimeMediaLA.com. Now is the new home of the Isaac Hayes Show. I am on there along with my good friends Kelby Dago and Joe as they go ahead and talk. I need to get Joe's last name. I don't know why. I can't remember his last name to save my life right now. But Kelby and Joe, go ahead and check them out. Also, Kelby Talks. Real good. Good friendship there, and glad they took me on board. They're doing some great things at Primetime Media. They're also giving away stuff. Now I know you people on my show, y'all like giveaways. Y'all like us giving y'all stuff, so you should go ahead and check it out. They're giving away a Yeti cup and some AirPods, and they're working on some other goodies to give to you guys. So hey, go check it out. You can you enjoy PrimetimeMediaLA.com. We talk politics. We talk about culture. We talk about a lot of stuff. They're also releasing, I think later on today, their reaction video. If not today, it'll probably be tomorrow. So go ahead and check out the Kelby and Joe show and their take on the president's speech last night. Also, go ahead and check out their other company, KelbyandJoeSilver.com. They are is an investment company. You should go ahead and check it out, especially if you have a little bit of extra cash and you want to go ahead and invest that. You should go ahead and check out KelbyandJoeSilver.com and help them build up their company for investments. And Kelby has a business major. He has graduated from college, so he knows what he's talking about. I promise you, great marketing guy and all that good stuff. Also, so today I don't have no other stories. I was watching the speech last night, and I seen so much. And look, Trump talked for over 90 minutes. I think it was an hour and 40 minutes. He talked. His speech had it was very intense, and sometimes it was very engaging. And you know, you do a show like this and you only have 3 episodes that you can do. I'm not privileged like Dr. Mike. You know, Dr. Mike can do a show every day. So I didn't listen to his show. You know, I probably did because this is pre-recorded, and we're right after Dr. Mike, and he gives some really insightful, commentary on things like this. So I don't know if he covered other stories yet or whatnot, but you know, if you have a show every day, you can cover stories. But this right here, I'm telling you, is the biggest story of the day. This speech, and I decided, you know what, I'm not going to focus on anything else today. I'm just going to focus on this speech. I have a lot of stuff written down, and I really want to cover a lot with Donald Trump talked about and what Donald Trump said, but also what happened before and after with the Democrat response. And that's where I want to tackle that issue today. And it probably just going to be on the speech. If I see I have enough time, I will go ahead and dive into something else. I have other news stories that I can go ahead and talk about, but we're probably going to save a lot of those for Friday unless something else major happens. And let's talk about before. Okay, before the speech, the Democrats, for some reason, put out this video that was supposed to be their unique take on Donald Trump and their own words. But it's kind of funny. Hakeem Jeffries, Elizabeth Warren, and Chuck Schumer, with several other Democrats, all started out with the same line when Donald Trump says something about bringing down prices from day one, and they go ahead and they use the word it's S with a hit on the back of it. So they made that line, and verbatim, almost verbatim, they went ahead and said the exact same thing. These Democrats, ladies and gentlemen, they are scripted. They are very, very scripted, and I was very disappointed in the Democrat Party last night in not standing up for some key moments that they could have stood for unity. Look, these are sourpusses. These are sore losers. I don't care how you go ahead and label these guys and these women that are in the Democrat Party, but shame on the Democrat Party last night for not even standing up for majority of the speech, because there were some Democrats that did stand up. I commend the Democrats that stood up for the things they could agree on, but majority of these Democrats did not stand up. They did not even clap. And Trump said this at the beginning of the speech. Trump said, look, no matter what I do, he said, and look, I made that phrase a lot on this show. He said, I can go ahead and I can heal cancer, or I can find a cure for cancer, and you still will not clap. I took it a step further. I said they will blame him for putting doctors out of work. And Trump knew that going into this speech last night. He knew that no matter what he said, no matter what he done in that speech, he would not get an applause from the Democrat Party. And I think this is why he's so effective in this term. He knows he cannot be reelected. He also knows that whatever I do, it will not be good enough for the Democrat Party. So why even try to please them? Okay, and this is what Republicans have done for the last several years, and it's been failing until now. The Republicans until now have been saying, well, if we can go ahead and please the left-leaning media, if we can please the legacy media, and we can also try to work with the Democrat side, people in America is going to see that we are the ones that are working together, and we're the ones that want to push the American agenda forward. But the problem with that is the Democrats use our meekness for weakness, and the Democrat Party, when they're not in power, use that. Hey, y'all want to work together, and they get things done that they shouldn't be done. But the Republican Party now, under the leadership of Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, and John Thune, whatever, I gotta remember how to say his name. John Thune, they're pushing their agenda forward, and this is why you saw Democrats last night almost on the verge of crying. I saw Nancy Pelosi in tears. She was almost in tears. She hated that speech so much. Then you had Ilhan Omar, also on the break of tears. Why? Because this is just my observation. This is my opinion on this. I think they believe that they're done. They are defeated. Look, we can call them sore losers, and they are, but they are defeated, and they're not getting nothing done. Why? Because Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, and John Thune, they're holding the fort down. They're pushing the Trump agenda. And you know what? They're saying to the Democrats, we don't care what y'all think. We don't care what y'all believe. We're not working with you guys because you are the party of, let me just say it like that, evil. Come on. I have a story, and I know I wasn't supposed to talk about it, but I think it fits right now, where you had the Democrat Party. Let me see. I know I have it somewhere. You had the Democrat Party vote down. Listen, Senate bill to prevent boys from playing girls' sports gets stuck on filibuster. That was the Democrat Party. And look, the hypocrisy of last night for the Democrat Party, in my humble opinion, was the wearing of the pink. The reason they were wearing pink was to protest Donald Trump's treatment of women, and he's not looking what women want and what women desire, but you go ahead and you block a bill that would prevent boys from playing in girls' sports. It's kind of ironic. You're protesting Donald Trump's treatment of women, but you're not even going to pass a bill that protects women in Title IX. Oh, well, Isaac, hold on. You got to realize that was Donald Trump's trying to say, and he did address this, and we'll probably address this later on, transgenderism. Oh, but you got to realize that is a female. It was he was a boy stuck. He was a girl and stuck in a boy's body. That means he was a girl. No science behind it. And to them, they're protecting women. That's not protecting women. That's protecting a male that could not succeed in his sport. So he's called himself a female and went to women's sports. This bill would have qualified codified Donald Trump's executive order. But instead of the Democrats passing a bill like that should be agreeable, they used the filibuster, which I'm agreeing with the filibuster. They have every right to use it. Do I agree that they used it? No, but they have every right to use it. But they used this filibuster to block this bill that was pushed by Tommy Tuberville. Then they go to the joint session with the Senate and the House, and they wear pink to protest Donald Trump's treatment of women. That is hypocrisy at its finest. I'm just making that point right there, ladies and gentlemen. It is wrong to go ahead and say you're protecting women and not do women's sports. But going back to the Democrats again, Nancy Pelosi looked like she was on the verge of tears. And they made this video before. Now going to the joint session. And ladies and gentlemen, again, I call these people sourpusses. Because right off the jump, they were disrespectful. Right off the jump. Okay, I heard Ted Cruz last night on Hannity. And Ted Cruz did make a good point. And I've seen several Republicans do this. It don't matter what Democrat was in office. It was Joe Biden or Barack Obama. And Ted Cruz made this point. He said, look, I did not agree with them. I couldn't stand them sometimes. But when the president of the United States walked into the rotunda and they announced him, Ted Cruz stood up. And look, he's not lying. There's several Republicans I've seen done this. Now, there's also some of them that were sourpusses and didn't stand up, and I disagree with that as well. But the Republicans stood up. Republicans shook the hand of the president of the United States. If you notice, when Donald Trump was walking in, all he did was stay. And if he's walking down his right side, he's shaking hands on the right, because you have left-leaning idiots on the other side being sourpusses and saying, oh, we're not going to acknowledge Donald Trump. I caught all this last night. And look, the first thing that came to my mind was the hate the left has for Trump. To not even acknowledge him as the president of the United States. We acknowledge him as the president of the United States. You don't respect him in that office. You know why? And Donald Trump brought this out last night in his speech as well. Because they lost by wide margins. They can't blame anybody but themselves. Think about this, okay? The Democrats are all, I can't believe Donald Trump went for president. I can't believe. They put themselves in that predicament. They told Joe to continue running when they knew Joe's mental state was not there. And then in the last minute of the campaign, decided to pull him off and put Kamala Harris there. They're the ones that put themselves in that predicament. Because you think about, okay, Donald Trump acknowledged Bobby Kennedy last night. Think about it. If they would have had a primary and let Robert Kennedy Jr. run, 9 out of 10, it would have been an election against Robert Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump. And I know some Republicans that would have voted for Bobby Kennedy. I'm just making that point out. But the Democrats wanted to be on that left-leaning track, that far left-leaning track, and they put Kamala Harris there. So all these Democrats that are sitting down with their nose in the air and holding animosity toward Trump, they're the ones that put themselves in there. I'm just making that point. But no Democrat stood up for when Donald Trump walked. And if you looked at the middle, there were some people on the left. Those are Republicans. So when Republicans win, they start from the backside and they fill in the left side of it. That's how it normally works. But Democrats did not stand up or acknowledge Donald Trump. It was sad to see. We are called the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen. We should go ahead and acknowledge whoever the president is. I made a statement there, and I know I make people upset on the conservative side when I say it, but if I had President Joe Biden stand in front of me, I would acknowledge the man as the president of the United States. Barack Obama, the same way. If I'm not just going to go ahead and acknowledge the people I like in that office. I respect that office way too much. And look, I understand there's some in the chat, there's some in the comments that are going to say, well, Isaac, how dare you say, no, I'm just making that point. We need to have unity in some way, shape, or form. You can disagree with the man, but you can still acknowledge him as the president of the United States. Also, to add a point, I didn't agree with the representative. That was, they had a representative on the left hand side. She had a sign that said, "This isn't normal." And there was a right leaning representative that was on the other side that grabbed the sign and threw it away. Look, she has the freedom of speech. I disagree with her statement. She shouldn't have done that. Look, that was the only thing she stood up for, by the way. There was no other reason she stood up, was just to go ahead and to criticize Donald Trump, to say this isn't normal. But again, it isn't normal to push men to play women's sports, or to go ahead and encourage children to go ahead and have transgender surgeries behind their parents' back. That isn't normal either. And I understand, I disagree with her statement, but it was not right that the representative threw that. That's something I disagreed with. All right, so Donald Trump goes into the rotunda, and he goes ahead and he talks. He starts off his speech, and ladies and gentlemen, again, just fireworks, just from the start. And Congressman Green from the state of Texas. And look, I don't know how, okay? If you're listening from Texas, I know Wendy's from there. And look, I don't know if you're in his district, Wendy, but how do people in Texas vote in Green? This is one of the most radical left-leaning people in one of the brightest red states ever. And y'all go ahead and y'all vote for him. I don't understand Al Green. But Al Green started some mess. The whole thing started with Donald Trump. Donald Trump hardly said a word. And Al Green just started saying he had no mandate, because that's what it was. Donald Trump started bragging about his election win, which was very impressive. All 7 swing states went to Donald Trump. He won the popular vote. He won the electoral college. And Al Green is making statements. You did not have a mandate. Look, and this is how delusional Democrats are. Think about this, okay? Donald Trump won in a dramatic fashion. And Al Green saying that was not a mandate. How dare you, Al Green? How dare you say that was not a mandate? How dare you say that was not a mandate for the president of the United States? The president did it in dramatic fashion. And look, Donald Trump's, it was an impressive win, but it showed how bad the Democrats were. Okay, from 2020 to 2024, the Democrats were saying it was all Donald Trump's fault. They were blaming Donald Trump through the Biden years on a lot of things. People did not stand Biden. They didn't want Biden. They saw how bad his policies were. And guess what? They showed it in the election. But Al Green think he's something. A 70-some-year-old man had to be escorted out of the rotunda. Now, this is something I want to ask a question to my audience. Do you honestly think Nancy Pelosi would have done that? Do you think Nancy Pelosi would have asked the sergeant at arms to remove a sitting congressman? Probably not. He's on her side. She would have kept quiet. And she would have let that ruckus go on. The Democrats at the beginning, look, like I said, Mike Johnson, in an orderly fashion, said, look, y'all need to shut up. And I know if you watch the speech, when they started, Mike Johnson would look at them and they just shut up. That shows the commanding leadership of Mike Johnson. I don't agree with everything with Mike Johnson. But Mike Johnson set a precedent right there, too. Listen, if you get out of line, I'm going to ask you to leave. Now, he didn't have to do too much after that with Democrats, because I know I'm jumping the gun right here, but if you watch throughout the speech, you would see Democrats get up and walk off. And that's something that just shocked me as well. Okay, why are you there? Okay, all Democrats didn't get it. I understand there's some that respect. Look, I'll commend Hakeem Jeffries, because they were asking if he would show up, and he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna go. I'm the minority leader, but that's also the president of the United States that's talking." Now he sat there like a sourpuss, so I gotta understand that. I've said that word multiple times in this episode, but it just bears to the fact that at least he showed up. But you had all these people. I'm telling you, it was They just did not. They left. There was some even that wore a shirt called the Resistance. Now it's kind of funny. They endorsing the Resistance now, but when the Democrats were in power and we called ourselves the Resistance, hey, we're going to resist what the Democrat Party did. Oh, y'all starting a revolt. Oh, y'all starting this or you're starting that. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm just making some points right there. It's kind of funny. The left is using a lot of terms that we use when Trump was out of office, and all of a sudden now it's okay to use them terms. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm waiting for them to question an election. And then the media is going to say, oh, it's their patriotic duty to question elections. I'm just saying. I'm making that point right there. All right. But yeah, throughout the whole speech, Democrats walked out of Trump's speech. This happened when he talked about high prices that started under Biden. This really what started me going. He was talking about high prices, and Bernie Sanders had the nerve to go after, and he didn't give the Democrats' official response. That was a senator from Michigan, which, look, as for speech giving, she did a heck of a job. She did a real good job. What she said in the speech was, she did a standard political speech. But she did very well because, as Fox News said last night, a lot of people go do that and they get on both sides, Republican and Democrats, and they do a horrible job. She did a decent job. But going back to that, he talked about high prices that started under Biden, and that's a whole other thing too. He talked about, Bernie Sanders said again that he did not talk about the economy. He did not talk about high gas prices or high prices, but he did. He started right off from the speech with that, and this is the whole thing too. Trump is trying to make people understand something. He's been in there for 45 days, and he has done a lot. He has done a heck of a lot in his 40-some days he's been there. But this is the issue, okay? It's not going to get fixed overnight. I told you guys right when President Trump won, I said, look, give this man time. He is the president of the United States, but look, he has done more things, and he said that in his speech last night, more than 4 to 8 years most presidents can do. I've done a real good job at it. Now, this is the whole issue with the high prices. Again, it is easier to destroy something than to build it up. Biden destroyed everything Donald Trump did. Now, guess what? Donald Trump has to build it back up, and he has to use the rubble that Joe Biden threw on the ground. And it's hard. It's hard to build that up. Now, this is the whole thing, too. Okay, I want to make this point right here. Okay, let's talk about these high prices. Democrats are blaming Donald Trump right now for high housing, food prices, and gasoline, all that stuff going up. Where were those Democrats when Joe Biden had all those issues? Okay? Think about this, all right? Joe Biden had the highest inflation than any other president on U.S. history. Democrats did not say anything. Republicans did, but Democrats didn't say nothing. The housing went up. Food went up. Gas went up. All that went up. But the Democrats, their excuse was the president of the United States cannot control those things. But now they want to blame Donald Trump for it. Now, Republicans' excuse right now is Donald Trump is in there, and I'm going to give him that excuse because it is true. Basically, what Donald Trump was saying, look, we're having a hangover over the Biden years. But they're blaming Donald Trump for egg prices. Now, there is an egg shortage here. I went to Waffle House the other day. I didn't order no eggs because I wasn't paying 50 cents extra an egg for what I'm already paying. But you had Donald Trump make points about these high prices, and Democrats are walking off on him. Why? Your guy did it. It's the same thing. He made a line about political you going after your political opponents. He said we're gonna make sure it don't happen again. And he looked at the Democrats. He said, y'all tried it and it didn't work out too good for you guys, huh? Also, I heard I don't know. I think it was yeah, it was a Democrat response. I don't have the lady's name. I should have wrote it down, but she made the point. We need to have some change, but we should not defy the Constitution or ignore it to get our stuff done. And I'm thinking to myself, woman, where were you in the Biden years? You know how much stuff that the Supreme Court said, hey, that's not legal, and Biden's like, oh well, I'm the president, I can do whatever I want. Everything she look, I'll say that for her speech. Everything she said was, oh, you know, what Trump's doing is wrong. And I'm thinking, well, Biden did the exact same thing. But Biden did, it's for the good of the country that I defy the law. And look, like I said, in her speech, the structure of it was good, but her content, not so much. And look, and she made a line, and see, this is the whole thing too. Bernie Sanders did the same thing in his video. I saw that this morning. I'm not gonna go ahead and give you a long speech like you heard tonight. Biden went over an hour. And look, Donald Trump had a lot to say. He did a lot of stuff. If you passed your bedtime and you missed your cookies and milk, you should have went home. Trump also said the border is closed. There was a one-liner that he said later in the speech. He said, "Listen, you don't have to pass laws, or you don't have to close the border legislatively. You just had to have a new president." And look, we had reports that the lowest encounters at the border in over decades in February. Donald Trump closed the border, and he is protecting us. Same thing with the Democrat response. They said, this is where that lady was saying she wants to hear what Trump has to say because she agrees a lot with him. Again, Donald Trump made the remark, no matter what he does, Democrats will not give him credit. Trump reminded Democrats again of the political opponents. This was a great line from him. He said the United States only acknowledges two genders, male and female. He talked about him banning men from playing women's sports. And he also said if schools don't comply, they will lose their funding. Ladies and gentlemen, that's huge. Donald Trump is doing his job. But this is common sense. The Democrats should have stood up and cheered for this. No, but they're going to fight for LGBTQ rights in the aspect of a boy as a biological boy to play in women's sports. Look, I'm going to make a point right here. I'm not against co-ed sports. I played co-ed sports. I ran a softball team for almost 3 to 4 years, and that team had boys and girls on it. There were special rules, though, that were put into place to make it fair. This isn't fair. Look, it's been proven time and time again. And Trump said boxing, women swimming, all that stuff, where men decide to be women. Listen here, and they go ahead and they start exceeding in what they're doing. And they were at the last of the barrel. But Donald Trump also talked about drill, baby, drill. We want more oil and gas production. That helps us here in Louisiana. He talked about Doge. He said Democrats, this was funny. He said Democrats appreciate Elon Musk's job but don't want to admit it. But then he broke down all the wasteful spending. And look, again, we're going to go. He talked about Social Security in a lot of in this speech. And he talked about how there was one that was even older than our country receiving Social Security. According to Bernie Sanders, when he did his live video and talked to the two people that were listening, I watched the rerun, basically said that was a lie. But it isn't a lie. We have the evidence. Doge just found the evidence of this wasteful spending in the Social Security office. Now, it's easy for the Democrats to say, well, that ain't true. But you notice, and I've said this for multiple times, all the Doge's findings, it's funny how they never try to deny everything else that Elon Musk has found. I never heard it. And maybe some of you in the chat have, or you that's listening on the podcast side, you can go ahead and comment and tell me, if you're listening on Spotify at least, you could tell me if you remember them saying that. I don't ever see. Now they condemn Doge. Doge shouldn't be looking at your private data and this and that. That was something that was said last night in the Democrat response, and I'm like, really? It's okay for the IRS to do it? The senator that did the response, she made the statement, do you really want those to look at your finances and look at your statements and look at all this stuff? Which they're not looking at people, they're not looking at personal information. They're looking at U.S. agencies. Think about this, okay? They're trying to flip the script and say they're looking at our data and our information, but the IRS can do that all the time. Do you know the IRS can go ahead and seize your bank accounts? They don't have to have proof that you did tax fraud. They feel like it, they can. The IRS knows how much you make every year, and they know if you file your taxes. But no, that's supposed to be a government agency. But it's okay for them to do it and not Doge. The Democrats will say all day it's not right for them to look at that, but they're not denying the stuff they're finding either. Making a point right there. And Donald Trump broke down a lot of the wasteful spending last night. Again, they're using Social Security, but there was several other stuff that Donald Trump said last night. And the Democrats they're not saying anything with it. Donald Trump also said that he's draining the swamp. The time of unelected bureaucrats are over. This costs a lot of boos on the left-hand side. Excuse me. And the Republicans were cheering, but the Democrats were boo, boo. And they started pointing to Elon Musk, who was also in the rotunda that night. He was in the rotunda, and because they talked about Doge, and this is their thing. They were talking about, oh, the elected bureaucrat, look at Elon Musk. He wasn't elected. But you know how many unelected bureaucrats have been running D.C. for years? I'm glad Donald Trump made that statement. Because, yeah, Elon Musk is not elected. We will give the Democrats that. But you know how many... It's funny how they point out Elon Musk, but they never pointed out Dr. Fauci. Telling people to wear a mask and not wear a mask, then wear a mask again. Dr. Fauci making our life miserable under COVID. I'm just making some points here. Dr. Fauci was an elected bureaucrat. And Dr. Fauci had all the power to make decisions on our health care. But Elon Musk is hitting them now. But Donald Trump said it's time to go ahead and the time of unelected bureaucrats is over. Trump also talked about his tax cuts. Made the promise again. He's trying to push for no tax on tips, on Social Security, and overtime. And he also made an interesting statement. He said car insurance rates tax deductible only if the car is made in America. So what he wants to do is your car insurance rate will be tax deductible. You won't have to pay for it. The government will give you back the money, whatever. But it's only on U.S. cars. That's going to raise up the auto manufacturing in the United States. Their senator from Michigan that was complaining a lot about Donald Trump wouldn't talk about this because Ford and Michigan, Detroit, Michigan in particular, would love this because that means their production will go up. People will be encouraged to buy U.S. vehicles. Think about it. We have a country right now. We have a president right now that's encouraging buying American-made. When we had a president last 4 years that would push for EVs. I'm making some points right here. I think I'm hitting them home. Let me know if in the chat. Also, Trump talked about the tariffs. You know, we had a lot of issues with tariffs. Mexico and Canada have, China and Mexico, China and Canada have talked about tariffs on us for retaliation. Mexico is supposed to be talking about that on Saturday, but they said they have a meeting with Trump on Thursday. The tariff war has started, and Justin Trudeau saying it was very dumb, and Donald Trump responds by saying, all right, go ahead and put 25% on us. We can go another 25%. So this is going to start a war. And Donald Trump made some points right here too. He did say this last night. He said, look, it's going to get hard for a second. But he said, trust me, it's going to get a lot easier. And what Donald Trump's saying is, look, the Democrats are correct. Tariffs do bring up inflation and tariffs do bring up goods. Oh, Isaac, you see, it's wrong to have tariffs. It's kind of funny the first term, though. Look, we have a presidential term with Donald Trump that we can look back on. Donald Trump raised tariffs on certain countries, and they said the same thing. But at the end of his term, we had one of the greatest economies in the world, and that was after COVID-19, after the shutdowns, after. And Democrats don't talk about 2018 and 2019. Why? Because those are the years that was Donald Trump's peak in his first term. Gas was going down. We did spend a lot of money on the military at that time, but I think we also had a stimulus package that hurt us. I disagree with Donald Trump on, but the economy was good. People were making money. Taxes were down. Tariffs were working. See, you don't hear the left talk. All you hear the left talk about is 2020, when everything was being shut down. Of course, the economy is going to go into a tailspin if you're telling everybody to stay home and there's no money going into the economy. But these tariffs are working, because according to Trump, companies are coming back, and it's true. We've had several countries announce, hey, we're about to build a plant in the United States. Are we doing this so we don't have to pay them tariffs? See, that's what Canada's worried about. Canada's worried that companies are going to go to the United States. Now, this is also another point, too, that a lot of the left ain't talking about. They're talking about these tariffs and how these tariffs are bad, but they're also not talking about how Canada is threatening to turn off electricity in Detroit, Michigan, and other parts of this country. Oh, Isaac, Donald Trump needs to take that into consideration. I think he has. But Canada ain't acting so nice. Giuseppe from Two Mics Live. Hey, what's up with Canada? They're not nice no more. And after this is when Donald Trump made the statement about new president, that they need to close the border. He said, look, you don't need to do it legislatively. You just need a new president. He talked about make his America healthy again. This is where he introduced. This is one time when he introduced Robert Kennedy. Robert Kennedy also was fun. There was a joke that involved him where we was talking about Social Security and people living so long, or 200-year-old people collecting Social Security. Trump looked at Robert Kennedy and said, "Boy, Bobby, we have a healthier country than I thought. People are living over the 200." And they made a joke, but he also talked about that. This is a big line. I think was a real interesting line in the speech. Trump said he was stopping school propaganda in the transgender ideology, and will cut off spending in schools that will continue to do so. So the schools that are pushing, he had a guest there where he talked about the lady that her child went to school and they encouraged her child to change her gender, and they did it all behind her back, and they were telling her, hey, when you're at home you use one set of gender, but when you come to school you talk about your real gender or you change gender. Now this woman is pushing that, but this is pushing, and he said, look, this is his line for this. I don't know. Yeah, his line for that was, I wish I would have wrote it down. It was a real interesting quote. He said, "You are made perfect, and the way that God made you." And look, he did use the line. He used God a lot in his speech last night, and I was very appreciative because of that. But Donald Trump made that line where he said, "Listen, you children are made perfect." Well, I did write it. Trump wants children to know that they are perfect the way that God made them. God did not make a mistake. This is this is the issue I have with the transgender movement. They will tell you that you're in a wrong body. I heard that phrase a lot. You are a girl trapped in a boy's body, or you are a boy trapped in a girl's body. When you make those phrases, you're saying that the God Almighty of heaven made a mistake. But God said, I have fearfully and wonderfully made you. That's scripture. And think about this, audience. And my preacher's starting to come out of me. Everything God says, the devil says opposite. God says you are fearfully and wonderfully made. The devil says, no, you're trapped in the wrong body. And when you say you're trapped in the wrong body, now you can have mental issues. I understand all that. But if you say I'm a boy in a girl's body or a girl in a boy's body, you're basically saying that God made a mistake, and God cannot make a mistake. Again, this should have been an issue that everybody stood up and said, yes, Trump is right. We're all perfect the way. No, the Democrats sat down again like sourpusses and with their tail between their legs. Because Donald Trump is breaking all this stuff up, all this wokeness. He talked about kicking woke out of the country and the military. He said he wants to build a bigger military. Also, he wants to reclaim the Panama Canal. He made some good points. A lot of good Americans died making the Panama Canal, and now China is overrunning it. But he also announced two uh, uh, two companies that are trying to take over the Panama Canal, and the U.S. wants that back. And look, the U.S. shouldn't have ever gave it. Look, another dumb mistake made by a dumb Democrat is Jimmy Carter. And look, Jimmy Carter, rest his soul, I understand that, but Jimmy Carter should have never gave the Panama Canal to the country that it's in. He also talked about Greenland. He said, look, if y'all want to come to the United States, we will gladly welcome you. I don't know if Greenland would do that, but we would have to see. He also talked about Marco Rubio, which was kind of funny. He made the part. He said something about Marco Rubio and it threw Marco Rubio for a loop. But this is something, like I said, again, this is something that the Democrats should have raised their hand and clapped for. He said, look, I appreciate your Democrats voting for Marco. Yeah, that was one of the only overwhelming votes of my cabinet. Democrats still didn't raise up. They still didn't stand up. And look, there was even some touching moments on the point of not standing up. Let's just reiterate that from the first moments of the show. There was a little boy that survived cancer, 13 years old, from Texas, wants to be a cop. He went ahead and he was wearing a Houston Police Department uniform. And Donald Trump said, look, we're going to make you an agent of the U.S. Secret Service. And you had Republicans stand up clap, and you had the Democrats. Some of them were like, that's nice. They were clapping in their seat, but they didn't raise up. Maybe one or two, maybe. I'm not going to say all of them, but most of them did not. You did not have the Democrats acknowledge that moment. There was a young man there, I can't think of his name, but he wants to go to West Point. He has grades. And Donald Trump informed him last night, hey, you're going to go to West Point. In tears, it was a touching moment. Again, Republicans stand up, Democrats stay sitting down. Why couldn't you stand up for that? Donald Trump acknowledges you and says that y'all guys voted for Marco Rubio. Thank you, guys. I appreciate y'all giving me my Secretary of State. And they sat their butts down. This shows disunity in our country, but at the same time, it shows the animosity that they have for Trump. They hate Trump. This is when he called Pocahontas, he called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, and Pocahontas comes from the nickname that Rush Limbaugh gave to her when she claimed she was Native American. But Donald Trump, the Democrats clapped when Donald Trump talked about funding to Ukraine. And he was talking about how it needed to stop and all this stuff. And you had Elizabeth Warren clapping and Donald Trump looked and he said, y'all can keep clapping if y'all want to keep going down this route for 5 years. And he said, Pocahontas is still clapping, and she just, and look, this is how delusional the Democrats are. I guess delusional or there's I don't know. This woman was clapping. Trump called you out, and you continue to clap. She's delusional. As Shar's term, she's delulu. And this is the whole thing too. Okay, Donald Trump announced, this is the ironic thing. Okay, they clapped because they were talking about all the spending they were doing in Ukraine. You even had some with the Ukrainian flag and the American flag. You had all this. But when Donald Trump said that Ukraine said they were ready to talk about peace with Russia, and Russia was also, you notice no Democrats clapped? See, I said, you watch this speech and you see certain things. And if I'll go watch it again, I probably would pick up a lot more stuff, but we don't have time, and our time is escaping us now. But talked about Russia and Ukraine's ready to talk about peace. No Democrats clap, but when you talk about spending money on a useless war, all of a sudden, they want to clap. Because Democrats like spending money. They don't like spending their money. They like spending our money. Uh, at the end of the speech, as we wrap this up, Trump was talked about his assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania. This was after. I didn't write it down. Just remember, this is after he introduced the American that was held in Russia for years, and the Biden administration didn't do nothing. But Donald Trump, in 20 some days, took him out of Russian custody. He acknowledged them, and made some points about that. Was another touching moment. There was several touching moments last night, and we couldn't get to all of them today. But Trump says about his Butler, Pennsylvania assassination attempt. He said, "Look, see, I believe I was saved by God to make America great again." He said, "I honestly believe that." Now, I'm going to say this. I will make a point, and I made it. That is divine providence that Donald Trump is not in a grave right now. The reason I say that is because millimeters away, or whatever they call those things. Um, a couple of, not even an inch away from his head. It grazed his ear, and if you look, you could see when he turned, you could see the scar where the bullet passed through. That could not be planned. That could not be, staged or anything like that. That person was trying to take out Donald Trump, and I think it was God to protect Donald Trump, because God does have Donald Trump here for a certain time. I think God has given us some grace. Do I agree everything with Donald Trump? No, I do not agree everything with Donald Trump. But at the same time, you cannot deny that. You cannot deny that God saved Donald Trump that day for some reason. I don't know the reason, but and look, I'm not God. I'm not going to try to find out the reason. I'm going to let God do what He needs to do. But he made that line there, and look, he's right. Now, Democrats are probably they're probably thinking the worst, but then Trump made a line. He said that he will fight, fight, fight. The line he used in Butler, for the country that we love and deserve. Donald Trump's fighting for us, and I heard that in that speech last night. He concluded with a speech, a tribute to America, and he also said that America is about to enter into the golden age, a new era. And ladies and gentlemen, I hope he's right. I hope he's right. He ended the speech well. He ended the speech by uplifting America and making America sound like it was good. And look, they usually do this at the end of these speeches. Now, according to some news organizations, Trump's numbers for the speech was favorable. That was from I think from the Daily Caller. Let's see. It might not be the Daily Caller. It might be Breitbart. Yeah, it might be Breitbart. Let me go see. Was Stephen A. Smith on The View? Apparently. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, seeing CBS News poll, overwhelming majority of viewers approved Trump's speech. So the American people enjoyed it, according to CBS. So all you left-leaning people, all y'all do is listen to Fox News. No, we listen. CBS said it. So if you can't trust Fox News. Now, after the speech, of course, they went to the Democrat response, and Democrats couldn't stay in there long enough. They look. I haven't seen people run out of a door like that in I don't know how long. Democrats did not say they acknowledge President Trump. Even look, some Republicans. I remember the last State of the Union that Biden did. Republicans went shake Joe Biden's hand. Not this time. Democrats did not do. Look, at the end of the day, what I got from the speech, look, it was a great speech, and a lot of things he said resonated with me, and I wrote them down, and I talked about them today. My whole takeaway was the hatred for Donald Trump. The left cannot stand him. The left cannot acknowledge him. The left can't do nothing, and they're angry. They're angry. They're sure losers. But at the end of the day, we're one country, and we need Donald Trump even said, "I want to work with Democrats," but unfortunately, Democrats don't want to work with Donald Trump. But and look, that's my reaction. Like I said, I said at the beginning of the show, this is something I really really wanted to talk about today. So we got it. We're working through it, and I know the episode's going to be, unfortunately, throughout this episode, and you're going to see some edits and stuff. Unfortunately, I had some technical difficulties, but we got an episode. We got an episode. I'm here. I'm putting out an episode on. I'm putting out an episode on Wednesday. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching the show. I appreciate you guys. If you have any concerns or comments, please comment in the bottom in the chat or in the comment section on Spotify. Um, we are probably not. I'm still debating on continue going on YouTube. You know what? I'm probably not even going to put this episode on YouTube. Because I haven't been getting no response, but we're working out some details. We're gonna see what happens, and got a lot on my plate. I'm planning on making some tough decisions down the line, but y'all keep me in prayer. I know we got some praying people in here that are praying for me, that are asking the Lord for guidance and wisdom. And look, if you're on Rumble, please share with your friends. Please tell all you people to go ahead and check out the Isaac Hayes Show. Remember, guys, we are. Dan Bongino's not going to be there next week. We're in his time slot. Go ahead and check me out. I would love to have your support. With that being said, again, thank you guys always. We will see you next time here on the Isaac Hayes Show. Please stay informed. Please stay in tune. And please stay in prayer. We'll see you next time here on the show. You be blessed. You be encouraged.